So as everyone's joining us, we'll just go through a little bit of housekeeping. So as it says on here, and I've just mentioned, we are recording today's webinar. We'll share that recording via email and on YouTube after the session. The recording will only show the panelists and speakers today. So if you're watching the background, don't worry about being caught on camera. We'll be using the question and answer function, which you should be able to see at the bottom of your screen, for people to be able to submit questions, which we will answer as part of the webinar towards the end if we have time. So feel free to drop a question in there. If you put a question in and we don't have time to answer it live, then we will answer and circulate the answers via email to everyone that's attended. So please submit your questions. The chat function is open. So if you would like to introduce yourself or make any comments throughout the webinar, please use the chat function to do that. Okay, so in today's webinar, we'll be hearing from a number of different speakers. So we're talking about the Leeds' approach to tackling data poverty. So my name's Amy Hen and I'm the Digital Inclusion Manager at 100% Digital Leeds, the digital inclusion programme at the Integrated Digital Service, part of Leeds City Council and the ICB. And I'll be talking a little bit about 100% Digital Leeds in a moment. And we're going to hear from Jason Tooton, Head of 100% Digital Leeds, Emma Stone, Director of Evidence and Engagement at Good Things Foundation. She's going to talk about the National Databank, and then we're going to hear from 4 case studies of different partners that are gifting data in the city as part of their offer. Liam Garnett, Senior Librarian for Digital from Leeds Libraries. Karen Pearce, who's a Director at Pathras. Amanda Jackson, 0 to 19 Clinical Team Manager at Leeds Community Healthcare, and Ryan Walker, Senior City Leader at Virgin Money. And then, as I mentioned, if we have some questions at the end, we'll answer those as part of a Q&A. Okay, so digital poverty. We wanted to talk about digital poverty in this webinar as part of Leeds Digital Festival, because it's becoming more of an issue as part of the cost of living crisis. We see more and more people and families in Leeds and across the UK struggling to be able to afford connectivity, which means that they don't have adequate access to the digital tools and resources that they need to be able to do things like access healthcare, find employment, communicate with other people, find entertainment, all of the things that most people that are probably watching this webinar will take for granted. Being able to afford connectivity, a reliable Wi-Fi tariff or pay-as-you-go data has always been an issue, and it's always been something that's affected those people on lower incomes the most. But as the cost of living crisis has impacted over the last year, we've seen more and more families having to choose between keeping up with their Wi-Fi or paying for data and paying other essential bills, like paying for food or fuel. According to the House of Lords digital exclusion report recently, up to 1 million households, it's thought, across the UK have cut back on their internet packages in the last year, many not having internet at all. What that means for Leeds. So it's really difficult for us in a city to be able to ascertain exactly how many people or households or families don't have or aren't able to afford a decent Wi-Fi connection or connectivity without surveying everybody and finding out on an individual basis whether they've had to drop their package. What we can say is the number of people that are living on a low income or in poverty across the city. We don't have lots of up-to-date 2023 figures, but based on the Leeds Poverty Fact Book, the figures that you can see here are all people and families that are likely to be struggling to be able to afford Wi-Fi and data, and so are unable to make use of the digital tools and services that will make their lives easier. These groups of people are the people that are already most likely to face digital exclusion. So as well as the affordability of connectivity and Wi-Fi, they're also the groups that are most likely to be struggling with some of the other barriers to digital inclusion, including having the skills needed to be able to make the best use of digital tools and services, having the confidence in their own abilities to be able to engage with digital safely and that digital tools and services are safe to use. Also having the motivation, understanding the potential personal benefit of engaging with digital if they've not really done much on the internet and more use of face-to-face services. So 100% Digital Leeds, we address digital inclusion as a whole. We're really invested in digital inclusion because we think digital inclusion is social inclusion. It's about making sure that everybody in the city is able to make the same choice as I have when it comes to deciding whether to use digital tools and services and choosing the best digital tools and services that are right for them. There's often an assumption that because people have got access to face-to-face services, that means that they're included, even if they can't get online. And we don't think that's true. Firstly, I have the choice between both options. I think everybody should have that choice. And also, there are lots of people who find accessing tools and services face-to-face really difficult. People that have got caring responsibilities, people that find it difficult to move around the city, people that have got mental health issues. And we think that everybody should be able to choose how they want to do things and choose the thing that's easiest for them on a certain day. In order to do that, everybody in the city needs to be able to make an informed choice. To be able to make an informed choice, we need to work to make sure that the barriers to digital inclusion have been removed for them. So that people are choosing, if they choose not to use digital tools and services, they're making that choice, but they have everything open to them. That means that they're able to use those if they wanted to, including the understanding that those digital tools and services are there, that they're there for them to use, and that there would be potentially a benefit or not to them using them. To be able to do that, everybody in the city needs to have the skills to be able to make use of those digital tools and services. They need to have the confidence that they can do digital and that the digital tools and services available to them are safe and that they won't get scammed or they won't get hacked. We need to make sure that the motivation's there, that everybody understands the personal relevance of digital to them, the range of tools and services that are available and how using them could benefit them. And then also, as we're here to discuss today, we need to make sure that everybody has the right connectivity. Access to good Wi-Fi at home, ideally, access to good good mobile data, not having to rely on pay-as-you-go to be able to get that, which is the most expensive way to be able to get data and often the least reliable, especially when people are thinking about how they need to budget and running out of data, and making sure that they've got access to the right equipment for them to be able to do what they need to do online. So 100% Digital Leeds, the way that we do this is that we are working to build a coordinated and connected digital inclusion ecosystem across Leeds. So what that means is that we work with hundreds of different delivery partners across the city, lots of different partners that are all already working with and in those communities where people are more likely to be digitally excluded for whatever reason. And we work with those partners to make sure that they have the tools and resources, understanding, knowledge, skills that they need in order to support digital inclusion of the people that they work with in the best way for them. We do that because those teams that are working on the ground are supporting the people that are more likely to be digitally excluded face-to-face every day. They work with them in a way that means that they really understand everything that they're going through in their lives and all the different barriers that they're facing, not just to digital, but to being able to access services more generally. They've also got the specialist understanding and training to be able to understand what the people that they're working with really need in terms of support. So we can work with them to develop specific interventions that really meet the needs of those people and communities. So 100% Digital Leeds take a community-based approach to digital inclusion. We want to make sure that people can get the right support that they need, where they need it and when they need it. Because there are lots of people who are very vulnerable that are digitally excluded, and people that face lots of different barriers to inclusion. We want to make sure that people are getting the support in places where they feel safe, in their community, as far as possible, that digital inclusion is embedded within the services and places that those people are already accessing, so they're not being signposted to support somewhere that they don't know, or don't feel safe, or don't feel comfortable having the conversation that might make them feel vulnerable. We want to make sure that people get that support from someone that they know and trust, so that they feel safe and comfortable having that conversation and being really honest about some of the barriers that they're facing and the help that they might need. We want them to be able to get support from people that really understand their situation in a holistic sense, not just digital exclusion out on a limb, but embedded within the reality of a person's day-to-day life and all of the different issues that they might be facing. We want to make sure that people are supported to do the things that are important to them, not just the things that we think that they might benefit from doing, or the things that are going to make it easier for other people, but the full range of things that is going to help make their life a little bit better. So including accessing things like health services and council services. We're also talking about staying connected with friends and family, keeping entertained, and thinking about how people can build their confidence and skills in a way that's doing things that are really meaningful for them. We also want people to be able to learn at the right pace for them. So by embedding this support within different organisations, we can make sure that an older person that might have memory issues is being supported in a different way to a younger person that might be struggling with affordability. And then finally, we want to make sure that people are supported to access the right equipment and activity and equipment and connectivity for them. So not just thinking about people having some connectivity or a little bit of connectivity, but thinking about making sure that they've got enough connectivity to do all of the things that are meaningful for them and useful for them in a sustainable way. So we support the different partners to embed digital inclusion into their offer as business as usual. So part of that is ability to be able to support connectivity, is working closely with the National Databank and other data providers to make sure that the organisations that we work with have got the tools and resources that they need to be able to support others. So I'm now going to hand over to Jason Tootin, who's the head of 100% Digital Leeds.
Thank you, Amy. Hi, everyone. So following what Amy said, increasing connectivity is an important part of our digital inclusion programme. And it's also obviously really important for people and communities across Leeds, because we know that people who are offline are missing out on a whole range of opportunities. Whether you want to apply for a job, apply for a school place for your child, if you're managing your money, managing your health and well-being, all of these things are easier if you're online. And if you want to save money in a cost of living crisis, then being online is the best way to do that. You get the cheapest deals on goods and services. You don't have to pay to travel to face-to-face appointments, and you can check where every penny is going whenever you want with online banking, online tools to help you track your spending. But too many people in Leeds, as Amy showed on that previous slide, too many people are missing out on those opportunities because they're not online. So what are we going to do about that? As a city, we have come together across sectors to put plans in place to open up those opportunities for more people. And last year, we published Leeds Digital Strategy. We'll put a link in the chat later. But the Leeds Digital Strategy sets out those plans in detail, and connectivity is a big part of that strategy. So the next slide, thanks Amy, brilliant, includes, these are just a couple of screenshots from the digital strategy. And these, it lists some ambitious outcomes for people at every stage of life, from starting well, living and working well, through to aging well. And that's to reflect that digital exclusion and data poverty can affect everyone at some point in their lives. The strategy is also really clear that these ambitions and the initiatives that sit underneath them will come to nothing unless we have the right foundations in place. So the next slide shows what those foundations are. And digital inclusion and digital skills are two of those foundations, and connectivity is another. So 100% Digital Leeds is mentioned as a key player in delivering Leeds digital strategy. In terms of connectivity as a foundation of the strategy, at one level, when you see the whole strategy, it talks about improving the connectivity infrastructure, it talks about full fibre and 5G and free Wi-Fi in more public buildings. These are all good things, but we know that their big infrastructure projects are not the answer for everyone. What if you can't afford home broadband, even on a social tariff? Then full fibre is not going to be within your means either. What if you're living in temporary accommodation or a shared property? So it doesn't really make sense for you to pay for a long contract for home broadband if you may not be in that property for very long. And then what if the nearest public building with free Wi-Fi always seems to be closed whenever you need to get online? So we need to do more to help people to get online whenever and wherever they need to. Because Leeds is an ambitious city. We've got our digital strategy, but we've got plenty of other strategies that set out our plans across a wide range of policy areas. We've got our best city ambition, inclusive growth strategy, better lives strategy, health and wellbeing strategy, third sector strategy, and loads more. And all of these strategies have digital as a way of achieving their priorities more efficiently, more effectively for the people that they're aimed at. But all of those strategies also recognize that some people are going to miss out if we don't consider digital inclusion as part of that strategic approach. So all of those city strategies mention 100% Digital Leeds. We're here to make sure that everyone in Leeds has equal opportunity to use digital tools, technology and services in the right way for them. And connectivity is a key part of that. There are often multiple and complex reasons why people are digitally excluded. They're set out on this slide, with connectivity as an obvious one, and some of the things that we're doing to tackle these barriers. 100% Digital Leeds tackles all of them, all of the barriers, in partnership with delivery partners from all sectors. We support our partners by helping them to access more resources to increase digital inclusion. And those resources could be helping those partners to apply for extra funding to increase their staff capacity, or it could be linking them to national offers that they might not otherwise know about, such as the Databank, so that those organisations can give free SIMs to help people stay connected. And through our combined efforts, we're helping more people to get connected and stay connected, because we want everyone to be able to take advantage of the huge benefits that come with being online. And for the rest of this webinar, you're going to hear from some of those partners who will tell you exactly how we're doing that, starting with Emma from Good Things Foundation.
Hi, everybody. Hope you can hear me okay. Thanks ever so much, Jason. So my name's Emma Stone. I'm Director of Evidence and Engagement at Good Things Foundation. And Good Things is the UK's leading digital inclusion charity. So I wanted to, I suppose, continue a bit about that big picture about why work in this area is so important and introduce the National Databank to you. Good Things Foundation, over the last 10 years, we have been championing digital inclusion in communities and have been really proud to be part of the journey, the brilliant journey that 100% Digital Leeds has gone through and is still really leading the way. What Good Things does is we coordinate a national network. You might have heard of us as the Online Centres Network, which is completely free to join, and all the resources there are completely free for community organisations and others to use. It's a really diverse mix of organisations, libraries, housing associations, refuges, and what they have in common is that either a big or a small part of what they do is try and find ways to respond to local needs around digital exclusion and digital inclusion in their communities. And so they will do that in a lot of different ways, depending on their models, depending on the people and communities they work with. And the reason they do that, as Amy and Jason have said, is because internet access is now essential. It is not a luxury at all. We saw that in the pandemic. And to be honest, we're seeing that even more now, because the pace of digital transformation across our lives is just continuing to go really, really rapidly. And we are so worried that too many people are being left behind and aren't getting the support they need to be able to benefit, which means that we are going to be seeing this worsen health inequalities, widen the educational attainment gap between rich families and poor families, make poverty worse, make life harder, and frankly, make life less enjoyable and less fun for millions of people across the country. And that's why you're all listening to this, which is brilliant. Thank you for joining this webinar. A huge part of digital inclusion, as Jason and Amy were saying, is about skills and confidence. And some of you might have used Learn My Way, which is a free online learning resource that Good Things Foundation provides, helping people to get those really, really basic level digital skills. And you'll know the magic that happens when trusted, friendly people in local community settings can give support to people where they are with what matters most, and help them to overcome their fears and learn to stay safe online, as Amy was saying. But you'll also know that and understand that a lot of the people who face those barriers also face a number of different barriers in their lives, and that might be around literacy and language and self-confidence, but it also is bluntly often around poverty. And over years of tracking data from Ofcom and others, we know that poverty, which has always been a big factor in people's experience of digital exclusion, especially across kind of working age groups, we know that that is growing as a factor. Kat Dixon, who is a Data Poverty Lab Fellow for Good Things Foundation, talked about the pointless triangle. So basically, having digital skills is absolutely vital, but it's pointless if you don't have a suitable device. And having a suitable device is obviously also vital, and it's obviously also pointless if you don't have and you can't afford sufficient data connectivity. And so that's really why addressing this is so important. It's not the only thing, but it's absolutely essential. Citizens Advice have said in the last year, cost of living crisis, 1 million households have cut back on their broadband access. Joseph Rowntree Foundation reminds us that over 7 million low-income households are going without essentials, and that is likely to include some level of internet access as well. Social tariffs, which are primarily for fixed line broadband, some for mobile as well. They're discounted tariffs for those who are on universal credit and some other benefits in order to be able to access cheaper home broadband. Still only 5% of eligible households are taking up on that social tariff. And we know that addressing data poverty is not only about home broadband. Some of the people who face the greatest barriers may not be able to access fixed home broadband at all, maybe because they're in temporary accommodation, experiencing homelessness, seeking asylum. We know that some people also who have access to home broadband may still have a real and urgent need for mobile data, particularly if you're experiencing domestic abuse. We know that a lot of young people and young adults also rely heavily on mobile data to stay connected. So that's why the National Databank is so important, and that's really focused on mobile data connectivity. It's one of the 3 services that Good Things Foundations run as a way to really help strengthen the UK's digital inclusion infrastructure alongside the National Device Bank and the National Digital Inclusion Network. I cannot say enough that the National Databank, brilliant though it is, shouldn't be the long-term solution, just as food banks should not be the long-term solution to food poverty. And that's why we also run something called the Data Poverty Lab to try and explore what more sustainable long-term solutions might be. But for where we are now in this current crisis, and given the extent of digital exclusion, the National Databank is absolutely a vital lifeline. And we couldn't have set it up without industry partners. So Virgin Money O2, and then data donated by O2 and Vodafone and Three, really understanding the need for this and helping us to set up the National Databank with enough free mobile data to support 500,000 people who need help across the country. And the number of local data bank partners across the country is really, really growing, which is fantastic. We're at about 1,400 local data banks now, which is brilliant. It's still not enough, but that will include community organisations, libraries, family hubs, warm spaces, food banks, and even high street banks. And you'll be hearing from Ryan later about work that Virgin Money have been doing in this. And we're really interested in how we grow this further and how we grow this movement further across Leeds, Yorkshire and UK wide. So if you aren't a local data bank partner, but you're interested, then I'll be sharing some links in the chat later so you can follow up on that. But really bluntly, if you are an organisation that connects and has reach to people in your local community, maybe they're using your services, maybe they're coming into your space, and if you think that they might benefit from free mobile data, SIMs and vouchers, then get in touch, join the Databank network. And every month we run sessions on what that means and how you can do that. And we're also going to be supporting the next week's in-person event in Leeds as well. So I want to wrap up now. I want to say a really big thank you to any local databank partners on the call, to some of the other panelists who are going to be coming in. I'll be handing over any minute now to Liam. I know it isn't easy to provide this support, especially for people who also face difficulties around the tech side about being able to kind of use SIMs and use vouchers. So it is amazing work for anyone who is a local data bank partner. As Amy and Jason, I think, both mentioned the House of Lords report earlier, we are expecting any day now a response from the government to what was a very hard-hitting report on digital exclusion coming from the House of Lords Communications and Digital Committee. We want to see the UK government doing more. We want to see more local authorities leading like Leeds. And we want to see more public sector, businesses, voluntary and community sector organisations. All of us have to play our part in fixing the digital divide for good. So I'm really excited to hand over now to Liam and hear about the role that libraries are playing in helping to address that in their communities.
Thanks, Emma. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Liam Garnett. I'm the Senior Librarian for Digital with Leeds Libraries. So I work on our digital universal offer, and that includes creative digital, digital learning, digital health, and digital inclusion. So basically anything you can put the word digital in front of pretty much comes my way. So along with my manager, Greg Stringer, who initially signed us up to the Good Things Foundation's National Databank scheme, I've been leading on our SIM gifting offer in libraries. So as a public library service, we use our status as safe and trusted spaces within our communities to support the people of Leeds by providing free access to information and to services. So all of our libraries are now co-located with the council's customer services teams. This has increased the opportunities that we have to help those most in need of support. So we've worked really hard to develop our digital offer to make it as inclusive as possible, particularly focusing on those people who are most at risk of digital exclusion. So we run regular digital drop-ins at libraries around the city. We've run structured digital courses for beginners. We've developed a plethora of digital resources that are freely available on our library's online learning website. We manage a tablet lending scheme, providing iPads with data to individuals and to organisations who might be struggling to get online. We support job seekers and SMEs, and we regularly work with community organisations to build partnerships and to share knowledge. So we've worked really closely with 100% Digital for several years now to make sure that we've embedded digital inclusion within all of those offers that I've just described. I think one of the library's main attributes is providing that free access, whether that's to information and entertainment through book borrowing, providing a safe space to learn, running events for children and young people, or offering free access to public PCs and Wi-Fi or through tablet lending. So sim gifting is a natural addition to our digital inclusion offer. We've been using the Good Things Foundation's Learn My Way course in our learning programs for many years now, and we're already signed up as online centres, which made the onboarding process easier. So the fact that all our libraries are these online centres and have those links with the Good Things Foundation really helped when it came to identifying where we wanted to launch our sim gifting offer. So we have several high priority wards in Leeds, which have high levels of deprivation and low levels of digital engagement. We wanted to get a nice geographical range around the city while also considering, you know, the number of sims that we'd be getting. So we weren't going to spread ourselves too thinly. We also thought about council colleagues and other departments that would have a presence in our community hubs and libraries, who could support us with signposting, and also what other community partners and organisations were in those areas, who would also benefit from this offer being available so close to them. So with all of that in mind, we of our 34 libraries around the city, we decided to pilot this offer at our flagship central library in the city centre, the Reginald Centre in Chapeltown, the Compton Centre in Hare Hills, Dewsbury Road Community Hub and Library, and Armley Community Hub and Library. So these hubs and libraries have got multiple departments, meaning that we had colleagues in job shops, housing, translation services, financial inclusion, project development, community healthcare, social prescribing, and many others, who would be able to signpost their service users to us to get themselves a sim. So by using 5 community hubs and libraries as sim gifting centres, we also knew that we would have dozens of staff involved from several different departments. Obviously, it's very important that they know and understand what the National Databank is and sim gifting is. So we designed some awareness training for each site. All of our frontline staff in hubs and libraries have had previous training as digital champions, which came from the 100% digital team. So I mean, that just means that they already have a good level of understanding about the barriers to digital inclusion and already have some tips on how to help people overcome them. So this awareness training really was just adding another level to that. But we do also have staff that would come in as cover, or who are on our Perry team, and so they might not have come across sim gifting. So to get past all of this, we've created a step-by-step guide. We use generic logins at each library. We've got a dedicated mobile phone to use to log on to the website, and we've made that training available to all of our staff on our library's online learning platform. We also delivered the training as a train the trainer course for our librarians, so they could be cascaded to more teams. And really, the aim of that is just to get this training out to as many people as we can to increase their awareness, so that even if a staff member is at a library that doesn't gift sims, they still know to signpost a person to their nearest gifting hub. You know, if they're having a conversation with a library user and they recognise that that person might be facing a digital inclusion barrier and would benefit from getting a free sim. So it's so important that our staff who are having these everyday conversations with customers have that awareness of all of our offers, really, and also what's available in their local community, so that we can best support the people coming into our libraries. Because we know we are an important part of a wider network of organisations, particularly when it comes to digital inclusion, and we have close connections with many partners, which has really helped when it's come to that signposting. And many of the people who are coming into our hubs and libraries to get a sim have found out about the offer through one of our partners in communities. So this, you know, this is a really helpful way of promoting the scheme, because it can be quite challenging. You know, some of the methods that we would normally use to promote our offer, such as social media or on websites, you know, naturally they're going to be missed by people who are not online. So flyers in libraries, word of mouth, community partners, they're all really great ways of getting the word out. So we started sim gifting in autumn last year, and to date, I think we've gifted between 700 and 750 sims, something around that. Going by the recommended retail price of those sims, if they are purchased in shops, that equates to around about £60,000 worth of savings, which in the current climate with the ongoing cost of living crisis really putting a squeeze on, you know, that's a massive benefit to our communities and to our library users. And by getting the word out through council colleagues and community partners, we've had people signposted to us from the food bank network, from social prescribers, local welfare support services, local schools, many others. We've been able to support a whole range of our library users, from care leavers to job seekers to Ukrainian refugees. A recent development in libraries is our wellbeing pods, which are private bookable rooms and are currently being used the majority of the time by the maternity services. And this gives us another opportunity for sim gifting. So by helping new mothers and fathers and parents who might be facing digital exclusion. And this is another benefit of having sim gifting as part of the digital inclusion offer, that we can use it to then promote other services that people will benefit from. So, for example, maternity services and our wellbeing pods can help new parents who are digitally excluded register for the NHS Healthy Start scheme, which has to be done online now, which is where they can receive vouchers for baby food and for vitamins. But it could also be signposting someone to employment and support in one of our job shops, learning what financial support might be available through a credit union, or learning about our tablet lending scheme, or signposting to a local community organisation if that's more appropriate. With our existing, get one of our sims, come along to one of our sessions and the librarian will help them get going. So the Good Thing Foundation's National Databank sim gifting scheme, it would be a really welcome addition to anyone's digital inclusion offer. The support the scheme provides our communities who might be struggling with the cost of living crisis are really significant, not just financially, but socially as well, helping people to get online so that they can stay in touch with others. And then the opportunities that the scheme provides to make new partnerships with community organisations only helps to strengthen the digital inclusion network for everyone involved and make it more likely that those people in our communities who are most at risk of exclusion have the best chance to get the support that they need. So I'd encourage anyone listening today who's considering joining the Databank scheme to get signed up and yeah, get it going. So I hope that's been of some use to anyone, and thank you all for listening. I'm going to hand over now to Karen, who works with Pathras. So over to you, Karen.
Thanks, Liam. Thank you. And hello, everybody. So yeah, I'm Karen. I'm the director at Pathras. Pathras stands for Positive Action for Refugees and Asylum Seekers. So very briefly, we work with people who are living in Leeds who are seeking asylum, either awaiting a decision on an outstanding asylum claim, or people who've been refused asylum and are homeless and destitute, but still have outstanding immigration issues. We work with single people, couples and families with children. We've got specialist mental health support within the organisation, a service specifically for young unaccompanied asylum seekers, so people aged 16 to 24 who are here without a parent or guardian, and a specialist domestic violence and abuse service. We've got a weekly drop-in at St Aidan's Church Hall in Hare Hills, where we distribute food parcels, and we also offer advice and support, and we also offer appointments in our office, which is just down the road from the church. So people we work with are often far away from family and from loved ones who they may have been forced to leave behind, or they might have been split up with on their journey to the UK. And people are often really isolated and lonely living in Leeds. So having a means of communication is so important to maintain contact and to know other people are safe, and also to let people know that they're safe. Most people use like social media, Facebook, or stuff like WhatsApp, which obviously all require data. People seeking asylum need to provide the Home Office with contact details, so you need to have a phone and minutes. You need to make calls to solicitors and doctors and support services like Pathras, and also being able to search the internet for information, both about navigating the asylum system but also about navigating life generally in the UK is really essential. So people seeking asylum are not allowed to work usually, and are not allowed to claim mainstream benefits. So people are provided with a house, which is often really poor quality, and Wi-Fi is never provided in the properties. People receive home office support, which is £45 a week. And with that £45, people need to buy clothes, food, toiletries, medicines, cleaning products, travel, mobile phone top up, everything. So obviously with so little money to live on, pretty much everyone who we're working with is living in poverty. And so having the opportunity to support people with SIMs and having data and calls and minutes, it's been such a great resource for us and obviously for our clients. People seeking asylum often have to wait many months or even years for a decision on an asylum claim. During that time, living in poverty, no right to work, living isolated, lonely, becoming de-skilled all the time. So having data is so important during that time. Quite a few people who we work with go to college doing ESOL, like English courses or GCSEs or other vocational courses. And these days, pretty much all lessons and homework are posted online. Homework needs to be completed and returned online. So again, the data SIMs have been invaluable for the people who we work with who are studying and really have made a huge difference to people's level of engagement on college courses. So Liam, who was just speaking before me, he got in touch with me about a year ago, told me about the Databank scheme and asked if he could come to the Paphos drop-in to distribute SIMs, which just sounded great. And I remember once coming in from outside in the car park and Liam was sat at a tiny little desk and there was like 8 fellas crowded around him, which looked quite crazy, but it just showed that it was so popular and needed. And because it was so popular and needed, we applied for Paphos ourselves to be part of the programme. And now all of our caseworkers and our mental health support workers can provide SIMs to clients. And we identify who to give a SIM card to in our initial assessments and also through our ongoing support. We started gifting SIMs in January this year, and we've given out 120 SIMs so far through the year. And I've just got a quick quote from a client who we spoke to recently about giving the SIMs to. So they said, in my home office house, I don't have Wi-Fi. Top up is very expensive and doesn't last very long. The SIM card I got from my caseworker at Paphos meant that I could be in regular contact with my family as well as my caseworker and my solicitor. I could also look at my college work at home and my English is getting better. So that's just an example of someone who's really benefited from it. So yeah, that's me from Paphos, and I'm going to now hand over to Ryan Walker from Virgin Money. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. My name's Ryan Walker. I'm the Customer Financial Wellbeing Lead here at Virgin Money. We have been working with Databank and the great people over at the great Good Things Foundation over the last year. We initially got involved with 16 of our stores across the UK becoming data banks to see whether bringing the data bank to the high street would work for our communities, but also our customers. And we found out that it was a great success. So over the last year, we've been extending the number of stores that we have got involved in the data bank, and a number of those are in Leeds. And we're supporting customers that, ultimately having to cancel their standing orders and direct debits to their mobile provider or their sort of broadband provider. We've also got lots of interest from local communities as well. So the majority of the people that we support through the Data Bank programme are not customers of Virgin Money, however, find out about us from local communities or someone using the interactive map that's available on the Good Things Foundation website. With us being able to give out those SIM cards in many of our stores, where a lot of our colleagues in stores are able to support them with basic sort of online tools. So we run sort of digital know-how sessions in our stores, which means that we're not just giving them a SIM card and getting them back online, that we're able to support them in other ways, making sure that they've got access to the correct services. And they're also able to, have the right level of support for using that access. I think for us, there's a number of things that we're committing to over the next year, is that we're going to get all of our stores onto data banks. So we're working with the Good Things Foundation to understand how that can work and how our local communities can use our stores as well. So we have free Wi-Fi, we have free bookable spaces, we're able to use those stores and our branches in a very different way to the way that we previously have. We've got some great examples here, and there's always one that stands out for me. There was a gentleman that visited one of our stores recently that wasn't a customer of Virgin Money and had recently lost their job. They'd just been to their bank and they'd cancelled all their standing orders and direct debits because they just didn't know what to do next. And someone in the local community pointed out that Virgin Money were a data bank and giving out SIM cards. He came into our Virgin Money store and we were able to give him access to a SIM card, get his device working again, and he was able to claim for benefits that he was entitled to because he wasn't working. Now that he was back online, he was able to start applying for roles and new jobs. And within 2 weeks of us getting him back online, he was back in a job and was starting earning again. And we just see the massive impacts that getting people back online is, and how important that is. And that's why we see it such as an important role for a bank on the high street to take. So that's a bit of a summary of what we're doing here at Virgin Money, and we're really excited that we're going to be working with Emma and the team over the next 12 months to understand how we can support more customers across the organisation, and specifically in Leeds. So by the end of this year, all of our stores in Leeds will be data banks, being able to help customers in the local community. So Amanda, I'm handing over to you now.
Thanks, Ryan. Hi everybody, my name's Amanda Jackson. I am one of the 0 to 19 clinical team managers, and I work for Leeds Community Healthcare here in Leeds. And I've come to talk to you today to talk about our new project that we've been up and running with, and it's called Baby Bubble. Amy, are you okay to show the slides? If not, I can do it without, that's fine. So Baby Bubble is a project that I've kind of headed up with my colleague Laura Walton, who is the Deputy Head of Midwifery for Leeds Teaching Hospitals. And it's I guess it's a true project. Next slide, please, Amy. It's a true project between a maternity service and my service, which is the 0 to 19 service, which people might know a bit more familiar as health visiting and school nursing. So we work with children, young people and families right from the antenatal period all the way up to the young person being around 19 years of age. So we've kind of come together to create Baby Bubble. So Baby Bubble are closed social media groups. They're run on Facebook, and the groups open when the expectant parents are around 16 weeks of pregnancy, and we carry these groups through to when the youngest baby in that group is around 6 months old. So there was a recognised need that we needed to support expectant parents and new parents with early intervention. So each group is moderated by 2 midwives and 2 of my 0 to 19 staff as moderators within the group. So what we've done with the groups is we've targeted our pilot areas to the south and east of Leeds, because we know that expectant parents that live in inner city areas are more likely to have poorer health outcomes. So they're more likely to not know about local health services or access local health services. And this is in your traditional kind of face-to-face setting alone. We know, so an example is in terms of poor health outcome, we know that people that live in these areas are more likely to smoke before, during and after pregnancy. And we know that that then has a direct link on reduced fetal movement, preterm delivery, as well as an increase in the likelihood of sudden infant death. Some people might know it a bit more as SIDS or cot death. So what we're aiming to do with Baby Bubble is target the expectant parents in those areas, and we can create a peer network with our moderators and the expectant parents. But in order to be able to do that, we kind of did some service user feedback and we decided that Facebook was the platform to use. Next slide, please, Amy. So this is just a rundown of kind of the process of Baby Bubble. So really quickly, people access Baby Bubble with a QR code or a link, or the professionals can complete the form or email us on behalf of the expectant parents. Like that shows, they're in the group for quite a while. Lots of sessions on kind of Facebook Live and virtual sessions. And the group stays open afterwards if when the moderators have left, if that's what the parents want from us. So next slide. So how does this all fit in with our data SIM gifting? Next slide, please, Amy. Thank you. So for us, we've worked alongside 100% Digital to ensure that expectant parents who are more likely to be digitally excluded in those areas are able to still access those groups. It's just another way for us to get the public health information across to expectant parents and new parents. It runs alongside traditional methods, which are face-to-face or over the phone. And Amy suggested that we registered with the Good Things Foundation as a registered provider, and it just fit within our digital agenda in terms of what we wanted to achieve with Baby Bubble. So we can offer any expectant parent a data SIM card, which supports them in accessing the group. And actually any other digital health aspect, you know, we're all familiar with the NHS app. People have been, you know, meant to be able to order their prescriptions and all those sorts of things. It's all done via digital. So what we do is we ask everybody who self-refers in or is referred in via a midwife or another practitioner if they are able to access data and if they feel like they will be able to benefit from the data SIM gifting. And that's really the only kind of stipulation that we have. For me, I guess in terms of Baby Bubble, I wanted us to be able to create a bit of a digital legacy. We want to be able to support the parents to feel comfortable and confident in using digital methods. We want them to be able to feel part of the digital world. But in order to do that, we needed to make sure that our moderators were trained in providing support to expectant parents. So we've been using the Learn My Way platform. And Amy from 100% Digital linked us in with the mobile phone company 3, who came in and did some dedicated bespoke training with all our moderators, which was brilliant. So everything from how to moderate a Facebook group to kind of the day-to-day stuff that we can share with our expectant parents. So things like how to make sure you're safe online, is your password safe, what to access and how to access it. And we also support our parents with being able to actually set up a Facebook account. I guess in terms of data SIM card gifting, one of our aims is, as an organisation, is to make sure that we provide the best possible care in every community and that, you know, we deliver high quality care. And digital is a way to do that. And I guess what we have to make sure we've got a bit of a responsibility if we're expecting our service users to access things digital, to think about how we, either as an organisation ourselves or services within that, can provide data support, or how we can link into other support services like you've been hearing from the libraries or from PAFRAS as well. For us, by supporting those expectant parents with SIM cards, we can facilitate them accessing that evidence-based support through Baby Bubble. And we know that the information that's shared in that group, and they know, has the aim of reducing those health inequalities. And it's not just about that. It's about them creating a peer network as well, which in their local community is so valuable. And we support them not by telling them what they should and shouldn't do, but it's about making them helping them to make informed choices. So our first group opened up in June and we've got around 25 people in there. At the moment, we've only had one person that wanted the data SIM, which is brilliant. And our first Baby Bubble babies are about to be born, so we're very excited about that. So that's it from us and kind of 0 to 19 and how we're working with Baby Bubble. So I'm going to hand back to Amy. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda, and thank you for all of our speakers that have joined us today to talk about how they're supporting data gifting in Leeds. We've purposefully chosen and invited one speaker from each of the different sectors. So somebody from health, somebody from business, somebody from the public sector, and somebody from the third sector. So there are many, many other organisations that are embedding SIM gifting and supporting people with connectivity across Leeds. Those are just some fantastic examples. So thank you for sharing that. So we've got 5 minutes left. So I'd like to do a quick Q&A. if that's okay. Thank you to everyone that submitted a question to the panel today. Emma has been busy answering some of those questions in real time in the background, so that's fantastic, and we will circulate those answers with the resources and links. But I'd like to answer a couple on the webinar since we've got the time. So first off, we've got a question from that's submitted anonymously, asking how likely are people living in data poverty to have devices that can connect to free or public broadband? Is providing access to these devices part of the Leeds digital strategy? So I'd like to invite Jason to answer that question, please.
Thank you, Amy. Really short answer is not directly, but it's absolutely part of the work that 100% Digital Leeds do. And it is a challenge, but it's a challenge for a whole range of different reasons. First of all, in terms of scale. So over the lockdowns, over COVID, the government distributed 1.5 million laptops to families that were struggling with home education when the schools were closed. And even that wasn't enough. So there's the scale of it. And Emma's put a link in the chat to the Good Things Foundation device bank, which again, as a national solution, is something that's starting to scale up now. Locally, 100% Digital Leeds recently has got some funding from our colleagues in employment and skills, and we're starting to use that funding with organisations to give devices and connectivity to some of their learners, some of their service users. But if you remember that slide with the barriers, the skills, confidence and motivation alongside the connectivity, sometimes people may have the opportunity to get a device and might just go, nah, it's not for me. I don't need that. You know, a child may be offering one to a grandparent who might go, well, there's no point because I wouldn't know how to use it. So one of the other solutions that we have as a city, and Liam can absolutely come in on this, is lending schemes, almost like a try before you buy, putting a device into the hands of someone so that they can have a go and start to understand some of the benefits with support to help them use it. Do you want to say a little bit about the library's lending scheme, Liam?
Yeah, can do. Yeah, so we have a number of iPads with some data available. Individuals can borrow those from 8 libraries around the city, and we also loan those to community organisations as well, who can then use them directly with service users. And like Jason says, the other barriers we can support with as well. So if someone has never used a device before, then they can come to one of our digital drop-ins. We can get them started, show them that it's not really nothing to be scared of, and also that sort of digital champions training knowledge about how to overcome some of those barriers and how to get people hooked into it. You know, find something that will be relevant to that person so they'll actually want to use a device as opposed to feeling like they're being forced to use something. So yeah, so we've got iPads that are on loan at the moment, and with various different community organisations.
And then just really quickly, Amy, spinning it all right back around to where we started, if one of the other reasons that people might turn down the offer of a device is because they think they can't afford the ongoing cost of keeping connected, that brings us right back to the data bank and the free SIMs and getting connected for nothing. So again, reducing the barriers to accessing those devices.
Thank you. Just really quickly, there's a couple of practical questions that I wondered whether Emma might want to answer. One about, do people have to get a SIM from a physical location in person? And also, is data offered through the SIM gifting ongoing or time limited? Thanks,
Yeah,
Emma.
brilliant. Thanks ever so much. So I've popped in a couple of responses to those questions. So yes, at the moment it is physical. I thought it was a really interesting question about, you know, thinking outside the box in terms of Airalo and other kind of eSIM type versions. But a big part of this is about actually how you reach and engage with the people who need the support most, who are therefore facing barriers around digital exclusion. And that's one of the really big issues here. So much of how we get and how we're expected to get information, advice and support about anything, including digital inclusion, is online, which again goes to the real importance of approaches like 100% Digital Leeds. And I just want, I know Shmuel is getting a response to his question. I can see from my view that Jason is typing that up at the moment. But I think I just wanted to say from our national perspective that actually 100% digital Leeds and Leeds as a local authority, and in collaboration with business, community sectors, library, public sector, is still really leading the way on this agenda. I really wish I could say that the same level of commitment and action was evident across the whole country, but it's really uneven. So I know your ambition to do more, but I just really wanted to give a shout and really recognise the importance of that, because it is a very collaborative approach.
Thank you very much, Emma. That's really kind of you to say. So we'll end the webinar there. We've come to the end of our time. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to our next event, which is taking place at Leeds Central Library on Thursday, 28th of September, 2 till 4. I've already put the link into the chat, but we'll make sure to circulate that to everyone. That is a face-to-face event for organisations and partners working with people in communities that are more likely to be digitally excluded in Leeds or the surrounding area, that are interested in finding out practically how they can sign up to the data bank or signpost to others that are partnering with the data bank to be able to gift SIMs. Organisations that are already part of the data bank but are wanting to hear more from other organisations about the best ways that they can identify beneficiaries and embed that SIM gifting within their service, or organisations that are having any issues with the data bank, signing up to it, administering it, etc. Good Things Foundation will be there to be able to assist, as will 100% Digital Leeds, Leeds Libraries, and some other partners talking about their approach as well. So thank you very much for joining today. We will circulate the video after the session. Enjoy your afternoons.